The Starfall way station floated in the darkness of space like a bright jewel among the stars. It was one of the busiest stops in this part of the galaxy. Ships came and went at all hours. Traders sold their goods. Travelers rested their tired bodies. Diplomats held secret meetings. The station had everything a person could want, and it earned a good name over many years that Marcus Chun walked through Docking Bay 7 with slow and tired steps. His coveralls were covered in black oil and brown grease. His hands were dirty. His face had smudges of carbon dust near his eyes and across his forehead. He had spent the last 6 hours lying on his back under a broken fusion drive, fixing it piece by piece with his own 2 hands. The ship belonged to an old friend, a Kalari trader named Voss, who had helped Marcus many years ago when he had nothing. When Voss sent a distress call saying his engine had failed, Marcus did not think twice. He grabbed his toolbox and went to work himself, even though he could have sent any of his 100 mechanics to do the job. That was the kind of man Marcus was. He never forgot a friend. He never thought he was too important to get his hands dirty. Now the job was done. The fusion drive hummed with new life. Voss had thanked him with tears in his large black eyes, and Marcus had waved it off like it was nothing special. He just wanted to go home, take a hot shower, eat some food, and sleep for 12 hours. His home was the penthouse suite at the very top of the Starfall way station. It was his station, after all. He owned every room, every corridor, every docking bay, every restaurant and shop. He had bought it 15 years ago when it was nothing but a rusted old mining platform that 3 different species had abandoned. Everyone said he was crazy. Everyone said it would never work. Marcus proved them all wrong. He walked into the main lobby through a side door that connected to the maintenance corridors. The lobby was beautiful. The floors were made of polished stone from a distant moon. The walls had soft lights that changed color slowly. Comfortable chairs and couches were arranged in small groups where guests could sit and talk. Large windows showed the stars outside, and sometimes a ship would drift past. Its lights blinking dot behind the main desk stood a Valori female. Her name was Desha, though Marcus did not know this yet. She had smooth scales that covered her skin, and these scales could change color based on her emotions. Right now they were a deep purple, which meant she was feeling proud and confident. She had a long neck, large eyes with vertical pupils, and thin fingers that moved quickly over her datapad. Desha had been hired 3 weeks ago by Director Eulerin, the station manager. Marcus had been away during that time, dealing with a supply crisis on the other side of the sector. He had not met the new receptionist yet. He did not know anything about her. Desha looked up when she heard footsteps. Her eyes moved over Marcus from head to toe. She saw the dirty coveralls. She saw the grease on his hands. She saw the heavy toolbox he carried. She saw a human who looked like he had been rolling around in engine parts all day. Her scales shifted from purple to a dull gray. This color meant disgust and disapproval. "The service entrance is around the back," she said. Her voice was cold and flat. She did not even look at his face properly. Maintenance staff are not allowed in the main lobby. This area is for guests only. Marcus stopped walking. He blinked a few times. He was very tired, and for a moment, he thought he had not heard her correctly. "Excuse me?" he said. Desha let out a small sigh, as if she was dealing with a child who could not understand simple words. "I said, the service entrance is around the back. You need to use that door, not this one. The main lobby is not for people like you." People like you. Marcus turned those words over in his mind. He knew exactly what she meant. She meant humans. She meant workers. She meant people who fix things with their hands, instead of sitting behind desks. He should have told her the truth right then. He should have said, "I am Marcus Chen, and I own this station and everything in it, including the desk you are standing behind." That would have ended the conversation very quickly, but something stopped him. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was the desire to see how far this would go. Maybe he was just too tired to argue, and he wanted to understand what kind of person his station manager had hired. "I just need to get to the upper levels," he said calmly. "I live here." Desha's nostril slits flared open, which was a Volari sign of annoyance. "Many people live here. That does not give you special rights to walk through the main lobby looking like that." She waved one thin hand at his appearance. "This is a premium establishment. We host diplomats, corporate executives, beings of great importance and high status. We have standards to maintain." She leaned forward slightly, and her voice became harder. "Whatever problem you're having with management, whatever dispute about pay or working hours, you need to take it up through proper channels. File a complaint with your supervisor. Do not come into my lobby and make demands." Marcus almost laughed. His lobby. She had called it his lobby, but she had no idea how right she was. "I am not here to make a complaint," he said. "Then what do you want?" Desha asked. Her scales flickered with impatience. "I told you. I want to go home. Then use the service corridors like you are supposed to. And please," she added, looking down at the floor, "you are tracking lubricant everywhere. Do you know how much it costs to clean these floors? More than you make in a month, I would guess." Marcus looked down at his boots. There were indeed small dark spots on the polished stone where he had walked. She was not wrong about that part. He thought about revealing himself. He thought about the shock that would appear on her face. He thought about how quickly those gray scales would turn to white with fear. But no, not yet. He wanted to see more. He wanted to understand if this was just one bad moment, or if this Volori truly believed what she was saying. "All right," Marcus said quietly. "I will use the service entrance." He turned and walked back the way he came. Behind him, he heard Desha make a small sound of satisfaction. She thought she had won. She thought she had put a lowly human mechanic in his place. Thought she had no idea what was coming. Marcus smiled to himself as he walked through the maintenance corridors toward the service elevator. This was going to be very interesting indeed. 2 days passed, and Marcus found himself strangely fascinated by the new receptionist. He could have ended the game at any time. One word to Director Eulerin, and Desha would know exactly who she had insulted. But Marcus wanted to learn more. He wanted to see how deep her beliefs went on, so he continued his normal routine. And his normal routine involved a lot of work that most station owners would never do themselves. On the first morning, a water recycling unit broke down on level 12. The repair would take hours, and the residents of that level would have no clean water until it was fixed. Marcus put on his coveralls, grabbed his tools, and went to work. He spent 4 hours replacing filters and sealing cracked pipes. When he finished, an old Trellian grandmother thanked him with tears in her eyes. She had been so worried about her grandchildren that Marcus told her it was no problem. He meant it. Later that day, he walked through the main lobby on his way to the cafeteria. He was hungry, and the quickest path was through the front. His coveralls were wet from the water recycling work, and his boots squeaked on the polished floor. Desha saw him immediately. Her scales turned that familiar gray color. "You again," she said, not bothering to hide her annoyance. "Did I not tell you to use the service entrance?" "I am just passing through," Marcus said. "Well, pass through faster. And try not to drip on the furniture." A group of Quellan tourists were standing nearby, waiting to check in. They watched the exchange with wide eyes. One of them whispered something to another, and they both made sounds of disapproval. But their disapproval was not aimed at Marcus. It was aimed at the SSIA. She did not notice. She was too busy feeling superior. Marcus continued to the cafeteria. He sat down at a table near the window and ordered a simple meal. The food on the Starfall was excellent. He had hired the best chefs from 12 different planets, and they created dishes that blended flavors from across the galaxy. He had just started eating when a young server approached his table. The server was nervous. His hands were shaking slightly. "Excuse me, sir," the server said quietly. "The front desk has suggested that you might be more comfortable in the staff cafeteria. It is on level 3. The food is also good there." Marcus looked up from his meal. "Did the front desk say why?" The server swallowed hard. "She said that this restaurant is for guests, and that maintenance workers have their own eating area. She said it would be better for everyone if you ate there instead." Marcus felt a flash of anger, but he kept it hidden. This was not the server's fault. The young man was just following orders from someone he thought had authority. "Tell the front desk that I will eat wherever I choose," Marcus said calmly. "And tell her that I am a guest here, just like everyone else." The server nodded quickly and hurried away. Marcus continued his meal, but the food did not taste as good as before. That evening, something interesting happened. A Drethian ambassador came down to the lobby. The Drethians were tall beings with 4 arms and skin that looked like tree bark. This particular ambassador was very important. He represented his entire species in trade negotiations with the Galactic Council. Vesha nearly fell over herself trying to impress him. Her scales turned bright gold, which meant extreme happiness and excitement. She offered him the best suite. She offered him free meals. She offered to arrange personal tours of the station. The ambassador accepted her offers politely. Then he said something that made Desha freeze. "I must thank the human who saved my ship yesterday," the ambassador said in his deep, rumbling voice. "My life support system failed while I was docking. I would have suffocated within an hour. But a human mechanic came aboard and fixed everything. He refused any payment. He said it was simply his duty. Marcus had done that repair. He remembered it well. The ambassador's ship had old and outdated systems, and the life support had failed completely. Marcus had climbed into the tiny maintenance shaft himself because none of his other mechanics were small enough to fit. He had worked in the dark, feeling his way through the wires, until he found the problem and fixed it. Desh's scales flickered with confusion. "A human mechanic saved your life?" "Yes, a most skilled one. I have traveled to many stations across the galaxy, and I have never seen such quick and expert work. You are lucky to have him." I see," Desha said slowly. "Well, I'm glad one of our maintenance staff was helpful. But surely the real credit goes to our management team. They hire and train these workers, after all." The ambassador made a sound that might have been a laugh. "I did not meet any management team inside my broken ship. I met a human with a wrench and a flashlight. He's the one who deserves credit." He walked away toward the elevators, leaving Desha standing behind her desk with a strange expression on her face. For just a moment, her scales turned a pale blue, which meant uncertainty and doubt. Then they shifted back to purple. She had decided to ignore what the ambassador said. Later that night, Director Eulerin contacted Marcus through a private communication channel. "You need to tell her," the director said. She was a grizzled woman in her 60s, with gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She had managed the Starfall for 10 years, and she was one of the few people who could speak to Marcus without any fear. "This has gone on long enough. That Valori is telling everyone that humans are only good for manual labor. She told a Quellan merchant today that the owner makes sure to hire non-humans for all the important positions." Marcus was lying on his bed, staring at the ceiling. His body was tired, but his mind was racing. "What did the Quellan say?" he asked. He almost choked on his drink. "He has known you for 15 years. He knows exactly who owns this station." "But he did not correct her?" "No. I think he wants to see how this plays out just like you do." The director paused. But Marcus, seriously, this cannot continue. She is damaging the reputation of the station. She is insulting our human staff. She is spreading lies about our hiring practices. I know, Marcus said, but I am learning something important. What could you possibly be learning from this? Marcus thought about the question. What was he learning? He was learning that prejudice could hide behind a beautiful face and a professional manner. He was learning that some species still look down on humans, even after everything humanity had accomplished in the galaxy. He was learning that his station, his home, his life's work, could be infected by this kind of thinking without him even knowing. I am learning who she really is, Marcus said finally, and I am waiting for the right moment to show her who I really am. Wow, do not wait too long, the director warned. These things have a way of exploding when you least expect it. She was more right than she knew. The explosion was coming, and it would be bigger than anyone could have imagined. The third day began like any other. Marcus woke up early, checked the station reports, and found a problem that needed his personal attention. One of the atmospheric processors on level 8 was showing strange readings. If it failed completely, that entire section of the station would lose breathable air within 6 hours. Marcus could have sent a team. He had dozens of qualified mechanics who could handle the job. But the atmospheric processors were old and complicated. Marcus had installed them himself when he first rebuilt the station. He knew their secrets better than anyone. So he put on his coveralls, grabbed his tools, and went to work. The problem turned out to be worse than he expected. A power coupling had cracked, and it was slowly leaking energy into the surrounding systems. If he had not caught it today, the whole processor would have exploded within a week. The explosion would have killed everyone on level 8. Marcus worked for 5 hours straight. He replaced the coupling, rewired the backup systems, and ran every test he could think of. When he finally finished, his coveralls were black with carbon scoring from the damaged components. His face was covered in dark dust. His hands were cut and bruised from working in tight spaces. But the processor was fixed. The people on level 8 were safe. That was all that mattered. He was walking back toward the service elevator when his communicator buzzed. It was Director Eulerin, and her voice was urgent. Marcus, you need to come to the main lobby right now. What is happening? Hegemony inspection team. 4 officials. They arrived without warning. Marcus felt his stomach tighten. The Hegemony was the galactic regulatory body that oversaw all commercial stations. They had the power to shut down any operation that did not meet their standards. An unannounced inspection was serious business. I am on my way, he said. He started walking faster, then broke into a run. He did not have time to change clothes or clean himself up. The inspection team was here now, and they would want to speak with the owner immediately. When Marcus burst through the side door into the main lobby, he saw 4 figures standing near the front desk. They wore the dark blue uniforms of Hegemony officials. Their leader was a Corvathi, a species known for their strict adherence to rules and regulations. She had gray skin, no hair, and eyes that seemed to see everything at once. Desha was standing behind her desk, her scales glowing bright gold with excitement. She was speaking rapidly, offering the inspectors the finest rooms and the best services. She clearly thought this was an opportunity to show off. We are not here for hospitality, the Corvathi inspector said. Her voice was flat and official. We are here to speak with the station owner. There have been commendations. Desha's scales flickered with confusion. Commendations? Yes. Multiple species have filed positive reports with the Hegemony about this station. Reports about rescue operations, fair pricing, excellent maintenance standards, and exceptional treatment of guests from all backgrounds. The inspector paused. The Hegemony wishes to recognize this establishment with a special award. But first, We must meet the owner." Desh's scales turned even brighter gold. An award from the hegemony was one of the highest honors a station could receive. It would bring more business, more prestige, more everything. She immediately straightened her posture and put on her most professional smile. "How wonderful," she said. "I will summon the owner immediately. He is a very distinguished individual, I am sure. Very refined and cultured. The kind of leader who understands the importance of proper standards and professional appearance." It was at that exact moment that Marcus walked into her field of vision. He was breathing hard from running. His coveralls were covered in black carbon dust. His face was smeared with grime. His hands were dirty and bleeding slightly from small cuts. He looked like he had just crawled out of a burning engine, which was not far from the truth. Desh's scales immediately shifted to that familiar gray of disgust. "Oh, not now," she hissed under her breath. But the lobby was quiet, and everyone heard her words clearly. She turned to Marcus with open contempt on her face. "You, mechanic, leave. Now, we have important guests. This is not the time for whatever complaint you want to make." Marcus stopped walking. He looked at Desha. He looked at the 4 hegemony inspectors. He saw them looking back at him with curious expressions. "I do not have a complaint," Marcus said quietly. "Then why are you here?" Desha demanded. "I've told you before. The main lobby is not for maintenance workers. You are embarrassing the station in front of these important officials. Look at yourself. You are covered in filth. You smell like burnt metal. This is exactly the kind of unprofessional behavior that gives humans a bad reputation." She turned to the inspectors with an apologetic expression. "I am so sorry about this. Human workers can be very difficult to manage. They do not understand proper boundaries. They think that because they fix a few machines, they deserve special treatment. But I assure you, the actual management of this station is handled by much more qualified individuals." The lead inspector said nothing. Her eyes moved slowly from Desha to Marcus and back again. She seemed to be waiting for something. "The owner will be here soon," Desha continued. "He is probably in his office, reviewing important documents or meeting with business partners. Someone of his status would never be caught looking like—" She gestured at Marcus with one thin hand. Well, like that. Marcus should have felt angry. Part of him did feel angry. But mostly, he felt tired. Tired of pretending. Tired of watching. Tired of seeing his own receptionist insult humans right in front of hegemony officials. "Desha," he said, using her name for the first time. She looked surprised that he knew her name. "What? Do you see this toolbox?" He held up the heavy metal case he had been carrying. It was dented and scratched from years of use. But on the side, clearly visible, was a symbol. A circle containing a stylized star, with the letters SC underneath. It was the logo of the Starfall way station. The same logo that hung on the wall behind Desha's desk. The same logo that was printed on every piece of official station equipment. Desha stared at the toolbox. Her scales began to shift from gray to a pale, sickly white. The lead inspector stepped forward. She extended her hand in a formal greeting gesture. "You must be Marcus Chun," she said. "The human who personally rescued the Velis the 4th delegation when their transport failed. The human who refused payment for saving 37 lives. The human who, according to our records, has saved over 300 beings through direct mechanical intervention during your 15 years of owning this station." The lobby went completely silent. Desha's mouth opened, but no sound came out. Her scales had turned completely white now, which in Valori body language meant absolute terror and shame. "Owner?" she whispered. The word came out like a croak. Marcus looked at her. He did not smile. He did not frown. His face was completely calm. "Yes," he said simply. Owner. The silence stretched on for what felt like forever. Every eye in the lobby was fixed on the scene. Guests had stopped walking. Staff had stopped working. Even the soft background music seemed to have gone quiet. Dasha looked like she wanted the floor to open up and swallow her whole. For the first time since he had met her, Marcus saw something other than arrogance in her eyes. He saw fear. He saw confusion. He saw the beginning of understanding Dodd, but he also saw something else. Something that gave him a small amount of hope. He saw shame. Real shame. The kind that comes when you realize you have done something truly wrong. Maybe, just maybe, there was hope for her yet. The silence in the lobby was so thick that Marcus could almost feel it pressing against his skin. Everyone was watching. Guests had gathered near the edges of the room. Staff members had stopped whatever they were doing. Even the 4 hegemony inspectors stood completely still, waiting to see what would happen next. Dasha's scales were still that terrible white color. Her hands were shaking. Her eyes were wide and filled with a mixture of fear and disbelief. I did not, she started to say, but her voice failed her. Marcus set his toolbox down on the polished counter. The same counter that Dasha had been so protective of. The same counter where she had looked at him with disgust and told him he did not belong. "Let me tell you a story," Marcus said. His voice was calm and steady. He was not shouting. He did not need to shout. Everyone was listening. 15 years ago, I came to this sector with nothing. I had a small ship, a set of tools, and enough money to survive for maybe 3 months. I was looking for work. Any work. I did not care what it was, as long as it was honest. He paused and looked around the beautiful lobby. The polished stone floors. The soft color-changing lights. The comfortable furniture. The large windows showing the stars. I found this place, he continued. It was not called the Starfall Way Station then. It did not have a name at all. It was just a number in a registry. An abandoned mining platform that had been empty for 20 years. 3 different species had tried to make it work, and all 3 had failed. Everyone said it was cursed. Everyone said it was worthless. Dasha was listening. Her scales had shifted slightly, from pure white to a pale gray white. She was still terrified, but she was also paying attention. I bought it for almost nothing. The sellers thought they were cheating me. They laughed when they took my money. They said I would be back within a year, begging them to buy it back. Marcus held up his hands. They were still dirty, still cut and bruised from the morning's work. I rebuilt this station with these hands, he said. When the power grid failed, I rewired it myself. When the life support systems broke, I fixed them. When the docking clamps would not work, I climbed outside in a spacesuit and repaired them one by one. He turned to face Dasha directly. I crawled through every ventilation shaft on this station. I cleaned every filter. I sealed every leak. I coded every computer system. I installed every atmospheric processor, including the one I fixed this morning. The one that would have exploded in a week and killed everyone on level 8. Dasha made a small sound. She was beginning to understand. I did not do these things because I had to, Marcus said. I did them because I wanted to. Because I believe that work has dignity. Because I believe that the person who fixes the engine is just as important as the person who owns the ship. He picked up his toolbox again and held it in front of him. This toolbox belonged to my father. He was a mechanic on Earth. He fixed machines his whole life. He never made much money. He never had a fancy title. But everyone in our town respected him, because when something broke, he could fix it. When someone needed help, he was there. Marcus looked at the hegemony inspectors. They were watching him with expressions of respect and interest. My father taught me that the measure of a person is not what they own or what title they hold. The measure of a person is what they do when someone needs help. Do they step forward or do they step back? Do they get their hands dirty or do they wait for someone else to do the work? He turned back to Desha. You looked at me and saw a dirty human mechanic. You thought I was beneath you. You thought my work was shameful. You told guests that humans were only good for manual labor. You said we were like insects. Desha flinched at that last word. She had indeed said that. She had said it to the Quellan merchant, thinking no one important would ever know. But here is what you did not understand, Marcus continued. Every human on this station, every mechanic and cleaner and cook and server, they are the reason this place exists. They are the reason the hegemony is here to give us an award. They are the reason 300 people are still alive today. He gestured at the beautiful lobby around them. This floor? A human maintenance worker polishes it every night. These lights? A human electrician keeps them running. The food in the restaurant? Human cooks prepare half of it. The ships in the docking bays? Human mechanics keep them flying. Marcus stepped closer to the desk. Desha took a small step backward. The Starfall way station was not built by executives in expensive clothes, he said. It was not built by people who thought they were too important to get dirty. It was built by workers, by mechanics, by humans and aliens who understood that every job matters and every person deserves respect. He set the toolbox down again. That is what makes this place special. That is why species from across the galaxy come here. Not because we have the fanciest lobby or the most expensive suites, but because we treat everyone with dignity. The diplomat and the mechanic, the executive and the cleaner. They all matter here. The Quellan merchant who had been watching from the restaurant began to clap. It was a slow, deliberate sound. Then another guest joined in. Then another. Soon the entire lobby was filled with applause. Desha stood behind her desk, surrounded by the sound of approval for everything she had mocked and dismissed. Her scales shifted through several colors. White for shame, blue for confusion, purple for something Marcus could not identify. The lead hegemony inspector stepped forward when the applause died down. Mr. Chun, she said formally, the hegemony is pleased to award the Starfall way station a citation of excellence. This is one of only 12 such citations in this entire sector. It is given in recognition of your hands-on leadership, your species' egalitarian operational philosophy, and your personal commitment to the safety and well-being of all who pass through your station. She held out a small metal plaque with the hegemony seal. Marcus took it with his dirty hands. He did not apologize for the grease stains he left on the polished surface. Thank you, he said. But this award belongs to everyone who works here. Every mechanic, every cleaner, every cook, every receptionist. He glanced at Desha. Even the ones who are still learning what that means. The inspector nodded. We will include that sentiment in our official report. As the inspectors moved away to begin their formal inspection of the station, Marcus turned to face Desha one last time. Come to my office in 1 hour, he said. We need to talk about your future here. Desha's scales went white again. She nodded weakly. Unable to speak, Marcus picked up his toolbox and walked toward the service elevator. He had a shower to take, a meal to eat, and a very important conversation to prepare for. Behind him, the lobby slowly returned to normal. Guests checked in. Staff went back to work. Life continued on, but everyone who had witnessed that moment would remember it for a long time. The day they learned that the owner of the Starfall way station was not too proud to crawl through an engine. The day they learned that the dirtiest man in the room was also the most important. The day they learned what it truly meant to be human. Marcus sat behind his desk in the penthouse office, freshly showered and wearing clean clothes for the first time in days. The Gemini Citation of Excellence sat on the corner of his desk, its polished surface reflecting the starlight that came through the large windows. He had 30 minutes before Desha would arrive. He used that time to think about what he would say. Director Eilerin had already contacted him. "Fire her," the old woman had said bluntly. "She insulted you in front of hegemony officials. She spread lies about our hiring practices. She treated human workers like garbage. There is no excuse for that behavior." Part of Marcus agreed. What Desha had done was wrong. Her prejudice against humans was real and harmful. She had embarrassed the station in front of important guests. She had made his own employees feel small and worthless. But another part of Marcus remembered something his father used to say. Anyone can punish a mistake. It takes wisdom to correct one. A soft chime announced Desha's arrival. Marcus told the door to open. She walked in slowly, her scales a muddy mixture of colors that Marcus had never seen before. It looked like shame, fear, uncertainty, and something else all mixed together. She kept her eyes on the floor. "Sit down," Marcus said, gesturing to a chair in front of his desk. Desha sat. Her hands were folded tightly in her lap. She still would not look at him. Marcus let the silence stretch for a moment. Then he spoke. "I reviewed your work records this morning. Your scheduling is excellent. Your organizational skills are impressive. Your handling of guest complaints and room assignments is among the best I have ever seen. Director Eilerin hired you because you are genuinely good at your job." Desha looked up, surprise flickering across her scales. "But," Marcus continued, "you have a problem. A serious one. You believe that some species are better than others. You believe that certain kinds of work are shameful. You believe that humans, specifically, are inferior beings who should be kept out of sight." The muddy colors on Desha's scales shifted darker with shame. "Where did you learn these ideas?" Marcus asked. The question seemed to catch her off guard. For a moment, she did not answer. Then, slowly, she began to speak. "On my homeworld," she said quietly, "the Valori Dominion, we are taught from birth that physical labor is for the lower classes. That civilized beings work with their minds, not their hands. That humans are newcomers, primitives who got lucky with technology they barely understand." She paused, struggling to find words. "When I left the Dominion and came to this sector, I thought I was being open-minded. I thought I was accepting of other species. But I never questioned what I had been taught about work, about status, about humans." Her scales shifted to a clearer blue. "Sadness and regret. When I looked at you in the lobby, I did not see a person. I saw a category, a label, dirty human mechanic. I put you in a box and closed the lid without ever asking who you really were." She finally met Marcus's eyes. "I am sorry. I know that does not fix anything. I know words cannot undo the harm I caused. But I am truly, deeply sorry." Marcus studied her for a long moment. He believed her. The shame on her scales was real. The regret in her voice was genuine. She was not apologizing because she got caught. She was apologizing because she had finally seen herself clearly. "This morning," Marcus said, "I submitted your resignation to the personnel office." Desha's scales went white. She nodded, accepting the decision. "And then," Marcus continued, "I rejected it." She looked up sharply, confusion flooding her features. "You are not fired," Marcus said. "Not yet. Instead, I am giving you a choice." He slid a datapad across the desk. Desha picked it up with trembling hands. "That is a new assignment," Marcus explained. "Starting next week, you will spend 1 shift per week in the maintenance department. You will learn how to fix things. You will crawl through engine compartments. You will get your hands dirty and your clothes stained. You will work alongside the humans and aliens that you look down on. Desha stared at the datapad. Her scales cycled through several colors, too fast to read. You will do this for 6 months, Marcus continued. During that time, you will keep your regular job at the front desk. But you will also learn what this station really runs on. You will learn who keeps it running. You will learn what work actually means. He leaned forward. At the end of 6 months, we will have another conversation. If you have learned nothing, if you still believe that fixing machines is shameful work, then you can leave with a good reference. I will not hold your past behavior against you. But if you have learned something, if you have changed, he spread his hands, then we will talk about your future here. Desha was quiet for a long time. Marcus could see her thinking, processing, struggling with ideas that challenged everything she had been taught. Finally, she spoke. Why? She asked. Why give me another chance? I insulted you. I insulted your staff. I embarrassed your station in front of the hegemony. Most owners would have thrown me out the airlock. Marcus smiled slightly. Because I was not always the owner of a space station. Because I remember what it felt like to be looked down on. Because I believe that people can change if they are given the chance and the reason to do so. He gestured at the beautiful office around them. Everything you see here, I built from nothing. Not because I was special or talented or lucky, but because I was willing to do the work that others thought was beneath them. That is the real secret of human success in this galaxy. We do not believe any job is shameful. We do not wait for someone else to fix our problems. We roll up our sleeves and we get it done. Or we roll up our sleeves and we roll up our sleeves and we roll up our sleeves and we get it done. He looked at Desha directly. I cannot make you believe that. No one can force you to change your mind. But I can give you the chance to see it for yourself. What you do with that chance is up to you. Desha looked at the datapad again. The assignment details glowed on the screen. Maintenance department. Basic repairs training. Supervise practical work. I will do it, she said quietly. I will try. That is all any of us can do, Marcus replied. 1 year later, a young human mechanic walked into the Starful Way station for the first time. His name was David, and he had just graduated from the Technical Academy on Mars. This was his first real job, and he was nervous. He was also covered in grease from the transport ship that had brought him here. The old freighter had engine problems, and David had spent most of the journey helping the crew keep it running. He had not had time to clean up before arrival. He walked into the main lobby, looking for the service entrance. His coveralls were stained. His hands were dirty. He felt out of place among the beautiful floors and elegant lighting. Us. The lorry receptionist looked up from behind the front desk. Her scale shifted to a warm golden color as she smiled. You must be the new apprentice, she said warmly. David, right? Welcome to the Starful Way station. We have been expecting you. David blinked in surprise. Yes, I'm sorry. I know I should have used the service entrance. I am a mess. Desha laughed. It was a genuine laugh, full of warmth. Do not worry about that, she said. Half the people who work here look like they just crawled out of an engine. That is how you know they are doing important work. She came around from behind the desk. Let me show you around and introduce you to the owner. Fair warning, he's probably elbow-deep at reactor coupling somewhere. But he always wants to meet new staff personally. David followed her toward the maintenance section, still confused by the friendly reception. The owner does repairs himself? He asked. Desha's scales shifted to a color that David did not recognize. It was somewhere between pride and gratitude, and something deeper that he could not name. The owner, she said, does everything. And he taught me that there is no shame in that. Only honor She paused at the entrance to the maintenance corridor. "He will probably offer you a chance to work on something interesting on your first day. Say yes, no matter how dirty or difficult it seems. That is how things work around here." David nodded, still surprised, but beginning to feel like he might belong in this place after all. As they walked into the maintenance section together, Desha thought about how much had changed in a year. How much she had changed. She still worked the front desk. She still scheduled guests and handled complaints. But she also knew how to fix a water recycler now. She could repair a basic power coupling. She understood what it meant to crawl through a dark space with nothing but a wrench and a flashlight, working to keep hundreds of people safe. She understood what it meant to be human, not the species. The spirit. The willingness to do whatever needed to be done, without caring who was watching or what anyone thought. The belief that every job mattered and every person deserved respect. Marcus. Chum had given her a chance when she did not deserve one. She would spend the rest of her career making sure she was worthy of it. In a small office near the reactor room, covered in grease and surrounded by tools. The owner of the Starfall Way Station looked up from his work and smiled. He had always known that humans were not the only species capable of learning this lesson. They were just the ones most willing to teach it.